Welcome back to Real TV, and I'm Stephen King, the real Stephen King. And the world is on fire, man. It might not look like it from where you at because you're not in Palestine, you're not in Iran, you're not in Ukraine or Russia, but the world is on fire. I'm in beautiful Los Angeles, and every part of Los Angeles is not beautiful. But I'm about 45 minutes from Calabasas. But the world is still on fire. And the world you live in, the world that has been created, for a lot of us, we are the biggest threat to our own survival because we have lost the concept of family, the concept of village, of community. You know, I was listening to a guy from China speaking about Chinese history and the difference from Chinese culture and American culture. And he spoke about the reasons why China has existed for 5,000 years. And what he spoke on was the family, the extended family, and then the clan, and the responsibilities that came with that. And over here in America, all of that sense of family, sense of community, extended family, all that has been destroyed. You know, that whole concept of it takes a village to raise a child. Like, everybody needs community. It's no such thing as self-made. A lot of people would like to subscribe to being self-made, but at some point you had a mother, at some point you had a father, at some point you had a grandmother, or if you didn't have any of those things, you had somebody in this world that helped you in some type of way to get to where you were going. And that's true for all of us. You know, God is a just God. My father died as I was a young kid. My mother was hooked on drugs, but God sent me a beautiful grandmother that gave me some beautiful things in life that showed me what love was, showed me what principle was, what God was in her way. And it was up for me to carry on with the knowledge that she had gave me. We have lost the sense of self and have become the biggest threat to our own existence because we have failed when it comes to family. We have failed when it comes to extended family. We have failed in terms of having a clan. That's why we're in all disarray right now. You know, I remember a time when I was a little boy where my uncles had to come back home. You know, they had went out into the world, some things happened, and they had to come back and recalibrate. They had to come back and lick their wounds. Then they was able to go back out into the world and do what they had to do. But that's why they say it's no place like home, because we live inside a machine. And what that machine eventually will do is tear you down in some form. And if you don't have family, where will you find yourself at? If you don't have a home or a place to heal at, where will you find yourself at? We are our biggest threat to our own existence for those simple reasons. You know, it was a time that neighbors knew each other. Neighbors shared with each other. We had things called block club parties where the neighborhood came together. We had a sense of love, a sense of care, and commitment to each other for our own survival. And now that is lost. Neighbors don't know neighbors. Everybody is afraid of each other. Everybody has a vendetta with each other. And who wins in all of this? Nobody. You know, I'm going through some personal situations right now with my kids, and I love my kids. I always want to be there for my kids. And let me ask you, black woman, let me ask you this question. If you could have your father, time with your father, would you require anything material from him? Like deep within your heart. You know, I think I would give up everything to have just some time with my father, some time with my mother. Give up everything just to have some time with them. And that's what we fail to think of when we bring kids into this world. Not saying that we shouldn't provide for our children, because we should in every way that we can. But that time is so much more important. We are destroying ourselves from within. You know, it used to be the powers that be that came from the outside and wreaked havoc and destruction within our lives. Now it's the enemies within. You know, look at all the violence that's going on throughout the world, where people are just losing their minds out here. You know, you had a McDonald's employee kill her manager because she cut her hours. Everything is about survival. Everybody is in survival mode, where they're truly not being their authentic selves. You know, they're pretending to a world that doesn't care anything about them. They're pretending to be people that they're really not. And everybody is not built to work 30, 40 years. You know, everybody is not the same. Some people need more care than others. Some are stronger than others. So that's why the village was so important. That's why the family unit was so important. The extended family was so important. The clan was so important, because everybody had a concern for everybody. So if one failed, the other one would pick them up. So that's why they say in the Bible, it's better to have two than one, because if one falls, then the other one will pick them up. Well, what happens in a world where you no longer have mothers and fathers, you no longer have aunties and uncles, or grandmothers and grandfathers? What happens in that world when that person falls? We're the product of our own destruction now. What happens in a world where no friends exist? And I'm not talking about pretend friends. I'm talking about real friends that have a genuine concern for each other's survival. What happens when you live in a world and that doesn't exist? What happens in a world where no one cares about your success or your survival? It destroys people, breaks people down. That's what happens. But we're the product of our own destruction. See, that's why I'm glad that Allah has blessed me with a very forgiving heart. You know, because I have done things against people and people have done things against me. But I know I have to let those things go. I have to continue to move in a way, principled, in God's eyes. Because if not, then my lineage, the kids that come from me, will not survive. Yeah, it's crazy out here, man. You know, y'all really need to think about that, man. If you're not talking to your sister, you're not talking to your brother, you're not talking to your cousins, you know, you're not talking to your aunties or uncles, man. You're not talking to your grandmother, you're not talking to your grandfather, man. Y'all need to think about that, man. You know, that's why we live in a world now where we got daycares, we got old folks homes, nursing homes, we got daycares for old people, daycares for young people. 6 weeks now, y'all sending y'all kids to complete strangers. No more aunties and uncles, no more grandmothers. What kind of world are we living in? A very destructive one. You know, single mothers, single fathers, multiple baby daddies. What kind of world we living in? A very destructive, toxic existence. Because all of these things that I'm talking about, it destroys the dynamics of family. It destroys the dynamics of extended family. It destroys the dynamics of a clan, a strong clan. You can't have a nation without first strong families. So we can't talk about what the government is doing. We can't talk about white supremacy. We can't talk about the influx of so-called illegal aliens because we're not taking care of our own business. We're not being husbands. We're not being wives. We're not being brothers. We're not being sisters. We're not being aunties and uncles. So we can't talk about nothing else. You know, our world is upside down and we're the ones responsible for it now. Can't blame nobody else. We're backwards people. And we have been taught and we have been programmed to think this way, to feel this way. And I ask you to question yourself. Look at your own family dynamics. Oh, they grown. This person grown. Like, you get to a certain age and you don't still need people. Like, come on now, man. Everybody needs somebody because you're not going to always be straight all the time. You're not going to be okay all the time. And I'm not just talking about in a material way. I'm talking about emotionally. Who you got to go and really talk to that doesn't have an ulterior motive? Who is really your best friend? Y'all think about that. Who's going to check on their mother if she's alive? Who's going to check on their father if they're still alive? Who's going to check on their brothers and sisters if they're still alive to make sure they're okay? If not, you're the enemy within. You know, and it's just a very sad existence. You know, where's the family barbecues, the family get-togethers? Everybody doing their own thing, right? Everybody's living in this quote-unquote new existence. You know, the world is upside down. And see, we won't survive. The way how things going now, we ain't got 100 years left. You know, and to be honest, like, you have to think about this also, like the soul of a man. You know, no man wants to take care of another man's kids. You know, it's not even natural. It's not even natural. You know, every man wants his own lineage. You know, he doesn't want to pretend to be something that he just can't be, because no one can replace a father, a mother, not even a grandmother or a grandfather can. I experienced these things. I'm not speaking from a place of ignorance. I'm speaking from the heart, from experience. You know, we have became psychotic in our thinking. You know, and the world is upside down. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Y'all make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe to Real TV. And I'm Stephen King, the real Stephen King.